views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Lydia Labs or the Archway protocol. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only.
Welcome back to the Arch-In podcast. I'm your host, Eric Weissman, joined today with special guest TJ Hunt, product manager for Lydia Labs. TJ, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Eric. I'm excited to be on.
So it was awesome seeing the announcements. Lydia Labs building out, or Liquid Finance really, building out on Archway, and just hearing about your guys' plans with liquid staking derivatives and potentially not even launching your own token. It's looking really interesting. Can you start out telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so a bit about myself. I started in crypto early 2017. I think a lot of people, maybe even yourself, Eric, started around that 2017 bull market and kind of had experience in that interesting cycle before the previous one, and was more on the investor side. So I was just, I remember buying Ethereum on Coinbase and then taking a dabble in the altcoins, and then kind of got more involved during 2020. So that was like right after COVID happened. I had a bit more time on my hands and decided to dig a bit deeper. I was kind of aware of what was going on with DeFi summer, but didn't realize why everyone was making so much money during it. And ended up kind of going back to one of the protocols that I was pretty interested in during the previous bull market, which was Icon. And just kind of found it was a ecosystem that I could start collaborating in right away and start talking to community members and kind of be a bit more hands-on. And that I was kind of just doing things off and on around that community, and ended up kind of getting a full-time position with Icon once I graduated college, which was last May. So I got lucky enough where I was able to meet a lot of team members previously before joining the team. Was kind of very happy with their ethos of interoperability and connecting chains, and was lucky enough to joined kind of focused as like a product manager role, where I was more focused on our decentralized grant program over there, and then had my hands in a couple other things like core blockchain economics, a little bit of biz dev, and a variety of different things. And that kind of led me over to Lydia Labs, which I can talk about a bit more as well.
Yeah, please. So Lydia Labs being the core team behind Liquid Finance, how many people are on the team? Who is Lydia Labs? What have they done?
Correct. So Lydia Labs itself is almost a spin out of kind of the core Icon team, more from the business side. So a lot of our team members, or it was co-founded by 4 of my team members. And basically our team was running like a validator on Icon, was helping build products in the Icon ecosystem. So we built kind of the main DEX, a collateral-backed stablecoin, money market, NFT, marketplace, wallet, basically everything that we needed as an ecosystem to have that foundational layer was being built by Lydia Labs as well as other community members. And basically we had what we felt was this good formula for helping bootstrap and build newer ecosystems. And we wanted to see if we could replicate that success over into other ecosystems as well. So the spin out happened more like late spring of last year. So we're kind of a relatively new team, and started to look into, what ecosystems needed a lot of help with product development or governance, and just teams that had experience opposed to just being, a block producer on these chains. So we like to say it's kind of buzzwordy, but we like to say we're like value add validators, where we're kind of trying to go the extra mile for these ecosystems rather than kind of being, just a validator in general. So, and that brings us to, Archway itself, where Archway obviously is a chain that we're a fan of, and we decided to dig a bit deeper and see like what types of things could we contribute to Archway to really help the protocol grow in its early stages. And that's like the hardest part, opposed to just getting the core protocol, getting the validator set and making sure everything's working properly. You obviously need products being built on top for users to use. So that's what brought us to Liquid Finance, which just a liquid staking protocol. It's non-custodial, auto-compounding, and basically our goal is to help unlock liquidity within the Archway ecosystem. So we don't want users to have this this trade-off between providing security for the network or using their native token for whatever else they want to do. We want to kind of unify and give the best of both worlds there.
I love it. So let me just pick this apart a little bit. So you guys started as one of the core teams in Icon. ICX is the token if the audience is a little bit newer to the Icon ecosystem. I remember back in 2017 them exploding to like a $4.5 billion market cap. I think they jumped high into the top 20 pretty quickly. And it was really, really buzzing for quite some time. And it's still around, still doing decently well. So that's cool that you guys are interested in Archway and want to come over. And I love you bringing up the idea of a value add validator. We see a lot, like recently we came out with the, hey, apply here for a foundation delegation program. And we've got like immediately like hundreds or even thousands of applications of like, oh yeah, please, we can run a computer that costs us like $60, $70 a month if you guys give us a lot of money. And from the economic side, it's always been a little bit frustrating to me. It's like, why are we only really incentivizing, like I know in the name of security, but it's not actually properly set up that way. Why are we only incentivizing people to run computers instead of like all the other things that actually makes a chain valuable, such as applications and driving growth and adoption and development, which is one of the reasons that I aligned with Archway and found my way here. So I love that you guys are coming in with a mindset, not what can the chain do for you, but what can you do for the chain?
Exactly. And that's like, I feel like it speaks to part of just like our experience with another, like a different ecosystem in Icon is we were able to see like at its very core, being just a block producer is valuable to the network. Like you're helping contribute to build blocks, but it comes to a point where there's a lot of things that a validator could do, even if it's just like participating in governance discussions that really make a difference in the growth of a network and the growth of a community, where you have these people that are saw as like a leadership position, specifically in like these DPoS networks, when people are delegating to you and essentially entrusting you with their vote. I think that becomes a bit more important than when you have validators that are really in tune and aligned with the protocol to not only, you know, benefit from staking rewards and those types of things themselves, but also, you know, helping grow the protocol and kind of build the pie.
Yeah, love it. Love it. So let's talk about Liquid Finance a little bit then. You mentioned that it will be a staking protocol, liquid staking protocol, but also from the tweets, I see that it's non-custodial. So how are the staking derivatives going to work? And then what all are you guys going to offer?
Yeah, so at its core, when a user wants to use Liquid Finance, it's going to be as simple as just depositing your Arch tokens into the liquid staking pool, which is a smart contract. And in return, they'll receive an SArch token, which is essentially just a receipt token, an IOU token, which a user can then, you know, go back and turn in and receive their underlying assets. So what's really cool about that is, and it's pretty similar for all like liquid staking protocols in general, like what liquid staking allows for is users are no longer making a trade-off between basically providing security and decentralization for a network by staking the token natively and receiving some APR in terms of staking rewards, or, you know, using it in DeFi, using it in an NFT marketplace, basically everything else, which you can't do because your token's locked when you're staking. So basically what it allows you to do is the token is staked in the stake pool, which is providing the staking rewards as well as security and decentralization for Archway. And then the user would be able to use the SArch token for hopefully a variety of different DeFi protocols that come up within Archway. So whether that is like LPing in something like Astrovault or providing liquidity or collateral in a lending market, or even hopefully we can get to a point where it's even used as a token to trade in an NFT marketplace. So that's kind of the basis, is from like an economic point of view, is it's kind of trying to reduce the opportunity cost of a user and increasing their capital efficiency.
I love it. Love all the ideas behind it. I mean, that's the goal of DeFi, making things more efficient, giving everybody everything that they possibly can. And while doing it, you're not only raising the bonded rate and the security of the network, but also you're like lowering the way we have the inflation set up in the Cosmos ecosystem. You're actually lowering the inflation, further securing economically the blockchain, which I think is super neat. So love to see it. Love it. Can't wait to see S Arch with X Arch and all these other cool things that will be rolled out on Astrovault as well. Now, one thing that I thought was really, really interesting, especially like in my white paper, I was talking about the issues with being able to claim the underlying asset from these auto compounding derivatives, is that you guys have this idea of instant unstaking. How is that going to work? What are you guys going to set up for that?
Yeah. So first of all, I read the Astrovault white paper and I love it. So anyone who hasn't read it yet should definitely give it a read. And kind of the thing that I think Eric was referencing is like the liquidity premium that occurs when, there's some type of discount or premium for a liquid stake token based on the underlying asset. And there's different things to take into account, such as a liquidity, opportunity costs, and those types of things. But based on your question, Eric, the instant unstaking queue is going to be something that I think is unique to liquid finance specifically in how it's implemented, but the idea is occurring in a lot of different protocols. I think like mainly the one that comes to mind is Marinated Finance on Solana. But basically how it works is it's a queue. It's a first in, first out queue where a liquidity provider will provide Arch tokens to the queue, and essentially that liquidity, it can be swapped against from a user that wants to instantly unstake. So how the queue works specifically is if I were to provide Arch tokens to the queue, I'm first in line. Eric wants to provide Arch tokens to the queue. Now he's second in line. And when someone wants to instantly unstake, I'm the first one, or my liquidity is the first one to be swapped against. And if there's anything left over, Eric would be next in line. And basically whoever provides liquidity goes to the back of the line. And basically what this allows for us to do is if we want to incentivize this liquidity, or what's nice about it is we only incentivize the Arch liquidity. In like other mechanisms, usually this liquidity, I'm thinking like Lido specifically, is a 50-50 pool of the native token and the liquid staking token. And that has its own benefits, like it's all a trade-off. But the one thing from like an incentives point of view is you have to almost give double the incentives for the same amount of liquidity, because you have to give it for not only the unstaked liquidity, but also the staked liquidity that's paired with it. But basically, yeah, so instant unstaking will allow, as long as there's enough liquidity in the pool or the queue, will allow someone to instantly get unstaked Arch tokens from their S Arch tokens. And we charge like a 1% fee that is split between the team and liquidity providers.
Okay, awesome. So it's like a fixed liquidity premium that's much, much lower than would be in like the 50-50 pool type things. That's really neat.
Yeah, and I think, if we have an LP pair on something like Astrovault, then, there can be certain arbitrage situations where if it's cheaper to swap on Astrovault, they'll do that. And if the liquidity premium is higher on Astrovault, then you can instantly, unstake for 1% and then provide, liquidity and capture almost like an arbitrage there.
As well as protocol-owned liquidity on Astrovault could, through governance, be used to help provide liquidity in the queue. So there are a lot
100%.
of really cool collaborations that can come through this. So we've been excited in the background, working together a little bit, Astrovault and Lydia Labs for liquid finance type stuff. So I'm really excited for what you guys are building. Talk me through your thought process in choosing not to build a token. I know from the Archway side, we really love that, just to really showcase what is possible through the customizable economics that Archway provides. But what was your guys' decision on that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different reasons behind the decision, and a lot of it has come from like observing what's currently occurring in the market. Like I know you talk about sustainable economics a lot, and usually protocols that are just using their governance token for liquidity mining isn't super sustainable. And like you said, another reason, and specifically another reason why we picked Archway in itself, was for kind of the unique incentives that Archway allows for. And we kind of see it as a way where we can almost experiment a bit with incentives in terms of using core protocol as in Archway incentives, opposed to essentially inflating a token that may or may not have value to give to users instead. So basically how our like incentivization of our protocol will work is we will take 10% commission off of staking rewards. So when a user deposits, say, 100 Arch tokens, we're not taking any of that. We're just taking 10% of the staking rewards that are generated by those tokens. And this is very standard across basically every single liquid staking platform. Everyone takes
Stride's doing
like 10% commission. And then a majority of that commission is going to be used to, one, incentivize like our instant unstaking pool so that we have liquidity for people that want to have like quick unbonding. And then where it gets unique is where we can use some of that liquidity to provide to other protocols such as Astrovault, a lending market, basically any DeFi protocol that we want to help build liquidity for SRChin and kind of hopefully eventually, I think the main goal is to get enough incentives early on that we can eventually integrate ourselves and more experience like network effects.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super neat to see the idea of network effects and growing a product and protocol without launching your own token, because previously that's the only way people have been able to get funding, and then they have to find creative ways to try to justify the value of the token. So I think it's in us and like all of the audience and community's best interest to help like really pursue the success of Lydia Labs and Liquid Finance, to showcase to the rest of the world that, hey, you can come build a dApp that's useful and utilizable and not have to launch your own token and succeed, because you can't only get funding through pursuing grants. You can actually build something that that grows through its utility. Like OpenSea doesn't have a token. I don't think that gets talked about enough. So I think that is super neat, and I'm hoping for you guys' wonderful success, which I think you'll have.
And like usually, like you said, OpenSea doesn't have a token, and most of the protocols, honestly, that I would consider having like almost product market fit are ones that actually don't have a token. So I feel like relying specifically on your governance token as a way to get product market fit is probably not, like the best protocol design in my opinion. So, and like one thing I did forget to mention in terms of incentivization is, the core Archway protocol incentives. And basically our plan right now is for like the incentives we get from inflation, gas rebates, whatever, transaction premiums, all that will go to our instant unstaking pool, because that's kind of going to be in the earliest form of our protocol, the most important place to have liquidity. So that's kind of where those incentives are going to be. And then one thing I did want to mention too, specifically in terms of like an example of why the way I like our incentives better than like giving a governance token out would be in like a money market example. If we lend SRH tokens, how it would usually happen is you would get some APR from your lending your tokens, and then on top of that you get some governance token that is an APR, but there's certain ways to realize that APR. If you're selling or if you want to hold that token, that APR can become less if the protocol's token price goes down. How I like it better and what I see happening if we get the opportunity to incentivize a lending market would be if we're lending out SRH tokens, you'll get kind of the base rate from the protocol, but we can also give SRH tokens as an incentive. So basically how that would work then is that you're lending out some collateral type and you're just getting more of that collateral type. You don't have to sell into that collateral type. You don't have to sell into stable coins. You're basically just accumulating a token that you already have, which I see as like a lot easier way to realize yield. And you don't have to have exposure to a protocol that you may or may not believe in.
So like what if on Aave you're liquidity providing with USDC and you're getting paid in staked ETH?
Yeah, so like
That's awesome.
in that, yeah, that example is like if you're providing liquidity in USDC and getting incentives in staked ETH, to realize that yield, you would have to sell the staked ETH into USDC, because staked ETH can technically go up or go down. But just for that example specifically, if you were lending staked ETH and then receiving staked ETH in return, you likely already don't care about your exposure to the underlying Ethereum. So it's less of a difference in terms of like the incentives you're getting. So obviously it's not like a perfect way to incentivize someone. The best way would probably be to just give them stable coins, but there's a lot of different ways that could occur. So yeah. I don't know.
No, dude, that's awesome. And it's showing that the success of your model isn't based on your guys's like token inflation. It's based on the success of the, like, if it grows no matter what, then it gains an adoption both for the Archway ecosystem and then therefore the Archway token. You guys aren't providing a new level of leverage, which I love.
Yeah, and that's like, I think it aligns us very well with the Archway protocol in general. So we're not like worried about pumping our token price or trying to go to as many chains as possible as quickly as possible. It's more of the fact that if Archway is successful in itself, I think it's likely that we'll be able to get more stake in our stake pool as well. And vice versa, I think if we're able to provide enough utility to a stake token and hopefully be able to build out the DeFi ecosystem, basically the entire application layer of Archway, then I think everyone involved benefits. So I think we're highly aligned with the network. We want as much stake to be, securing the protocol. We want as much liquidity in all the protocols that are on the application layer. And we kind of just, in general, are highly aligned.
Yeah, and audience, just to break this down, what the opportunity cost is, what they're choosing this over would be if they were to launch their own token, say a liquid finance token, and then take all of these rewards, these premiums, these gas rebates, this inflation that goes to developers, and use all of that to buy back their token, and then be like, look, our token's doing well, and then having all of the growth of the ecosystem that they provide all go into like pumping up their hyperinflated token. So the fact that that's not what they're doing is really likely laying a lot of money at the table early on, but it does show that they're aligned with Archway long-term and could build up long-term network effects. So that's a heck of a gamble, really a selfless gamble on the ecosystem as a whole. So that goes far beyond the idea of just being a value provide validator. So really, it's an honor to work with you guys, and I love that we're aligned for a long-term vision.
Yeah, if Archway wins, we all win.
Amen. All right, so tell me, like, what does this look like for long-term success? What is the vision of Lydia Labs in 1 year, 3 years, 10 years? Are you guys going to be building other products as well? Are you guys going to keep venturing on through Icon and other ecosystems as well? What are you guys looking at?
Yeah, I think it's really hard for like the very long-term predictions because, in this space, everything's changing like constantly. But I think it's still very easy to give like a short to medium term prediction. And I think specifically, like, we really want to focus on providing value to Archway in terms of the Cosmos ecosystem. So the first product is liquid finance. And I'm sure if there's some need that is very apparent in the ecosystem, we'll either try to build it or try to work with others that are building in the ecosystem to help solve this problem. I think I could see us definitely expanding into other ecosystems as well, whether it's just from like a validator perspective or, building products on other chains as well. But I always see it, at least, especially in like a Cosmos ecosystem and even from like an Icon perspective, is Cosmos is focused on interoperability and Icon is also focused on interoperability. And I think as we expand our products and whatever our involvement in different ecosystems, we build different relationships, we build the pie as a whole, and with IBC, everything is composable in a sense. So even if a product is built on a different chain, it could come back and benefit Archway as well, and vice versa. So I think there will definitely be more products in the future, but right now, between Icon and Archway, we're still trying to build out kind of our core set of offerings.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the audience, a little privy into kind of behind the scenes conversations. We all work with a lot of people throughout the cosmos and beyond. And so Axelar is building wonderful interoperability with other ecosystems, whether it's connecting to Polkadot, Avalanche, IBC is obviously expanding. Squid, built on Axelar's School for multi-chain liquidity. But one of these needs as interoperability increases is kind of this idea of a wheel and spoke liquidity hubs, where as you're going to, like, say, take liquidity from Cosmos and make a trade on Avalanche, that then goes and uses an app on Polkadot. As everything does eventually connect into the internet of blockchains that Cosmos envisioned, you need to be able to take, like, say, this version of USDC and use it on this, like, on this chain, and change it to have the right version of USDC, because they're all going to be fragmented. Not all of them will interoperate properly. And so kind of one of the things that Astrovault and Lydia Labs and Liquid Finance are trying to set up is making Archway one of, if not the hub for liquidity on Cosmos to be able to interoperate with these other large ecosystems. And with something like a brilliant lending protocol and service that doesn't require its own token, with things like what Astrovault's doing with basically earning the different tokens, the different layer ones themselves, and getting governance power in those layer ones, we do think that we're going to be able to make that a reality. The idea of Archway as being the gateway into the greater cosmos, that applies for bringing developers into the cosmos, and being a profitable and lowest barrier of entry access point for multi-chain dApps, as well as hopefully being the liquidity hub for the Cosmos ecosystem. And I think that together, if we all keep collaborating and building these brilliant products and working our tail off, we can make that happen. Yeah,
I think there's definitely a lot of space, specifically within the Cosmos ecosystem, that there's, like you said, sustainable DeFi protocols. Basically any product you can name, there's still probably a need for it within Cosmos and probably every ecosystem in general. And you brought up a good point in terms of, like, liquidity fragmentation. Luckily with IBC, there is enough connection between protocols in different ecosystems to be able to access liquidity. But I do think that there's going to be hopefully innovations in the future in terms of cross-chain messaging and those types of things that can really hone in on this liquidity fragmentation issue, where either like the Omni token standard, where a token is being minted and burned instead of wrapped, or minted and wrapped, and or wrapped and locked, or those types of things that introduce a lot of risk to a user. I think those types of innovations will hopefully be built in the future, where we can have synchronous or united liquidity within the Cosmos itself.
Yeah, and that will be a big stepping stone to building out traditional finance on top of DeFi. That idea where those risks are nullified and things do work seamlessly. So we're making it happen one step at a time. What is your guys' timeline on launching Liquid Finance? Is it going to be up as soon as Archway goes mainnet? Is it going to take a month or two?
Yeah, I think we plan on getting an audit of our smart contracts, which will kind of give us like a somewhat variable timeline to launch. Like, we would obviously love to launch after an audit and make sure that there's no serious protocol vulnerabilities. And then I believe that we'll try to launch pretty close to Archway like mainnet launch. So my guess is it would probably be like a week or two after, mostly to make sure the network is stable and there's no issues with validators or producing blocks. But we like to do it like very early on within the ecosystem itself.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're looking forward to Archway going live, and then a couple of these key dApps like Liquid Finance. Before we close out, what is one thing that you would like to leave with the audience for them to think about Liquid Finance, for them to just kind of hold on to and take away from this interview?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think the main thing to remember is that Liquid Finance is going to allow for you to provide security and decentralization to like Archway, the underlying protocol, as well as to allow you to participate in applications built on top of Archway. So that's Astrovault and whatever other protocols come up. I think the caveat with all that and would be, a disclaimer that I'd want any DeFi protocol to say is that there's always going to be some type of smart contract risk. So it's not like you're getting these benefits for free, right? There is certain risks when you take with any DeFi protocol. So just always be aware, don't over leverage yourself.
Yeah, love it. And how can people reach you, TJ?
Yeah, so my Twitter might have to be put in the bio of the video, but it's the connector and with 3 O's at the end. And then the Lydia Labs email or Twitter handle is Lydia_Labs. Liquid Finance is liquid_finance. So pretty easy to find. We'll probably try to ramp up our social media presence a bit more in the future. But yeah, I'm excited to be launching and excited to be meeting more people in the Archway ecosystem. So if you're, a builder or a community member, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to talk, love to find ways to collaborate with everyone and, help make Archway a successful protocol.
Awesome. Love to have it. And we do actually just have the new Archway community Telegram live. So if you guys have been sticking around for a while and know that we haven't had a Telegram, do hop in there. But TJ, thank you for an awesome interview. Looking forward to everything Lydia Labs and you guys are building, Liquid Finance and more. And honored to have you guys in the ecosystem.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Eric.